Hello and welcome back to News You Can Use with TF Team. I'm of course joined with Pierre Tomacek and I'm your host David. Nice to see you this week. We do have a few different stories to cover, news that we hope that you will find important here in Ontario. So the first bit of news is the Labour Force Survey for March 2026. It looks like employment was very little change, so this is probably a good thing. The employment rate is held steady at 60%. The unemployment rate was also unchanged at 6.7%. So this is a good thing, but it does note as well that some regions of Southern Ontario do continue experiencing challenging labour market conditions and elevated unemployment rates. Those areas are unfortunately mostly in Ontario and mostly in the GTA, with London, Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo, Windsor, Barrie, and Toronto. So what does this news sort of mean for us here? I mean, it's sort of good news for Canada on a whole, but for Ontario, it's maybe a little concerning?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the main thing that I get out of it is that, we're still stable with everything that's going on around the world. We haven't turned negative as of yet. So if you have a job, then chances are you'll be able to maintain your job. It just makes it harder for people coming into the job market to find a new job. I mean, I saw something on the TV recently which looked at this is a dire year for young people, just kind of getting that first summer job, entry level. And I just remember my days when I, 18, 19, 20, 21, there was no issues. You walked into McDonald's, resume, what resume? I just walked into Burger King at the time and just said, I'm willing and able. And then they basically said, when could you start? Type of thing. Well, those type of jobs are not there. So it's making it a bit more challenging for kids coming in. So the only thing I would say, it's not dire. You have to refine your search. They're out there. So the most important thing that you could probably do as an individual is bet on yourself.
Okay.
If you could do that, it'll make it a bit more easier for you.
And by betting on ourselves, we mean retraining, we mean learning new skills, upgrading skills. So I mean, I'm actually in this position myself. I'm just about to be graduating from Humber Polytechnic and looking for work myself. So I know this will be a challenging time, but I'm still optimistic. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I am hopeful that we can still get something.
But you've got the tools, right?
Exactly.
You've bet on yourself. You're doing things that are outside the norm. The old days of Pierre just walking in and just basically saying, I'm here and I'm able. That's not there. Now, what do you have? You've got your diploma at Humber. You're doing your CSC and other designation. Engage in social media. You're engaged with the new technology. So you are apt to take advantage of what is out there. The new technology. So this is what I mean by betting on yourself. You're a terrific co-host.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So if they see, tapes of you and I, they will see that you're engaging. They will see that you are empathetic and that you have the ability to talk to clients and get to know their clients and provide kind of the right solution. So you're the embodiment of betting on yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But again, to all our viewers out there too, we do highly encourage you to do that. We are hoping to tackle AI in a future podcast and sort of the implications of that. And so the idea is, again, to sort of get ahead of that curve and start training yourself now and start learning how to use these tools.
Yeah, I mean, just before we move on, and I know you and I are going to touch upon that in a future episode, and that's the whole key on betting on yourself, not getting afraid of or being afraid of AI. Use AI to complement, right? So get ahead of the curve. It's almost like that Wayne Gretzky kind of analogy. Wayne Gretzky doesn't go, to the puck. He goes where the puck is going to be. So he anticipates where it's going to go, and then he gets there ahead of time, ahead of everyone. Anticipate what technology will be like, what AI is going to bring. Get there ahead of the next guy, and you'll be able to flourish. And this is what kind of things that we talk about, betting on yourself. So that's going to be number one. The days of just sitting, handing out your resume and hoping that someone, taps you on the shoulder. No, you've got to be a bit more creative. And this is what I, definitely, not necessarily the TF team, but when I deal with students like yourself in my various classes, this is what I guide you through. So hopefully in future episodes, we'll emphasize a bit more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know also gone are the days where you work one job from the start to finish. So it's always in your best interest to keep retraining and keep raising your skill set. So we also see another report from Deloitte that oil and fuel prices are to remain high throughout the year. This is obviously due to what's happening in the Middle East with the American blockade currently of the Strait of Hormuz. There's a lot of challenges right there. So for everyday Canadians feeling that pressure at the pump in their monthly expenses, we know that grocery prices are expected to go up due to this. What should we be doing right now to sort of manage these rising costs?
The reality, you can only control what's in your sphere of control. So there's going to be things that are going to happen outside of your realm that you have no or very little impact. Like what's going on, in the Strait of Hormuz. Us everyday Canadians, we don't have, we can't really impact that. So what is in our control? Our budget, right? Let's, unfortunately, maybe we need to tighten a bit more our budget, making sure that we have the emergency fund just in case, again, the job loss or we kind of hit a bump in the road, and start thinking about shrinking your credit card balances. Start to pay that down because the headwinds are coming, right? It's almost like, winter's coming and we're the squirrel and we're gathering our nuts, right? Because we know this is coming. So let's prepare. The number one thing I tell people, don't look at your neighbor. The grass is not greener on the other side. Focus on yourself. Don't look at the shiny things that are there. Focus on the things that you can control, because we have no control over what's happening, and food prices, unless they get a ceasefire, they get some type of mutual understanding about peace. I only see it, oil prices going up, food prices going up, and that terrible R word that might come up also.
Well, this you did mention, of course, debt, and this brings us up to our next story. So it seems that the concentrated credit challenges are sort of lurking below the numbers. So this does bring us to our last story, basically the credit challenges. So there's a broad picture of household finances that indicate that Canadians are generally managing through the upheavals of tariffs, but looking deeper shows that there are pockets of severe credit challenges. So this is one of those things where we did mention just sort of keeping debts in check, paying off your credit card bills if you can, getting ahead of the wind. So I guess underneath all this, if things are getting worse for certain groups, what does this mean for the average person?
Yeah, because the average person, I mean, we talk about emergency fund. One of the things that people use instead of putting money aside like we would like them to do is they use like their line of credit. They use kind of their credit card as kind of the last measure. That's their emergency fund. They're going to tap into that. Well, guess what? They started tapping into it and started tapping into a bit too much. And now that number is higher. And if we don't have the income to service it, well, we know what it could lead to, right, in terms of bankruptcy. I've never used line of credit as an emergency fund. Put money aside, whatever little amount, whatever you have to spare, the $50, $25 every pay, every little bit helps. And before you start thinking about, making a major purchase, think about, could I afford it? And if the answer is no at this moment, then just postpone it and then use the money that you are going to use for that major purchase to pay down your debt. So then eventually when things stabilize, and guess what? News you could use has been negative for the past little while. It will get better because not so long ago, there was another person that was on this side, and all we talked about was how the stock market was going up, and the Magnificent Seven yielded about 95% return. Those days will come back. We just need to weather that storm. And unfortunately, I know the IMF has been, that's the International Monetary Fund. They have stated we're on the cusp of a global recession. So if we see that big R word, recession, that's, lurking in the shadows, let's prepare. Let's get our house in order. Get that emergency fund, pay down the debt, focus on your budget, what you absolutely need, and then you'll weather that storm. And then once the good news starts to happen, you're ready to take advantage of all the opportunities. So if that would be one thing that I would say that we could do, those would be kind of the 2 or 3 things that we could possibly do.
Absolutely. So planning.
Yeah.
That emergency fund is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I know I personally went through a rough patch many years ago with a line of credit, with overdraft, and I was spending well beyond my means. And it is a very difficult cycle to get out of, but it is possible with the proper resources and the proper plan. So do speak to somebody if that situation does apply to you, or if you're just concerned about your finances in general. So we do thank you very much for joining us. Thanks again for joining News of the Week with TF Team. Take care and have a great week.
Bye for now.